in the first 13 weeks, does that make those women murderers for not taking proper care of health?
Wow, everything about that was wrong. To be a murderer, you have to commit an action. So if a woman miscarries, she obviously hasn't committed an action. Her child has died, and it's terribly sad, and women suffer for that, and we don't even talk about it because we have to all pretend that the babies aren't really babies, so the women usually have to suffer in silence. But I also love this idea, the experts say that logic isn't real anymore. What is a baby? Conception means the beginning, right? So a baby is conceived when the sperm and the egg come together and they form a distinct human being with all of the building blocks and processes of a human being.
Yeah.
You might want to bury your head in the sand and deny that, but I don't see how you can say it's obviously a human being. It's not a platypus or a cow, and it's obviously alive because it demonstrates all of the processes of life. So you might say, well, the baby's not morally significant. I think we should kill him anyway. But don't.
Would you run
don't
over a
tell me it's
petri
not.
dish if you had to choose one? I'm trying to weird Crawley experiment where it's like a live 2-year-old and then 10 zygotes. And do you feel like you should save the 10?
You're saying a zygote meaning that very earliest stage of conception, maybe like embryos were put into a freezer or something. Like that.
Isn't that life?
Well, it would depend who the 2-year-old is, because there are gradations of charity. I owe greater charity to my family than I do to my extended family.
A stranger. It's a 2-year-old child and it's 10 zygotes, and you have to kill. Which one would you choose?
It would be dependent on more factors than you're giving me, because the way you're setting it up.
Burns donated $200. Men find fulfillment in providing for their families financially, which is why typically most men won't want to stay at home. Taking time off with nothing to do for a work-oriented man is mind-numbing.
And yet they're doing it.
I think that's for
'cause they don't wanna be
anybody.
gay.
Yeah, but they go crazy, or they all get addicted to drugs, and you're really sad and depressed. So yeah, they do it, but it's not fulfilling to them. To your point, though, what you're setting up is premised on a utilitarian ethic. So you're asking me, to choose maybe, I don't know, the greatest good for the greatest number, but that's not how I view ethics.
I understand that. My point is that do you view a zygote, if I knocked it in 10 people, did 10 people just die because
Yes.
10 zygotes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I'm not saying that I reflexively, in a moment, if a fire came, I wouldn't grab the 2-year-old instead of the zygote or whatever, but that is a human being, yeah.
We have a chat here, and Burns, thank you for your TTS, by the way. Juan Gomez, hey, thank you, man, appreciate it. Men tend to be more interested in things, and women tend to be more interested in people. That's going to play out on what people choose as their career
Yeah,
paths.
I agree with this. I'm just saying that, let's say we have that's what the study showed. We have 15% of women and then what if people were actually choosing, it would be now 30%. It still would be on average that more women are interested in people and men are interested in things. But if people are free to choose their own interests out without having any cultural or social factors in it, it's still true that more men may do this and more women may do this, but more men than we see now may be in certain fields and more women would be in other fields.
I don't even know what that means, though. Women are more interested in people and men in things. I guess my debate partner is a thing who looks like a person, but I'm very interested in people. I don't even know really what that means.
I think they
I
mean
agree with
universally
you.
when you look at careers, women tend to work with other people while men are more interested in things like STEM and
They'll lock
gadgets.
themselves in a room
They
and
use
solve
the
for Maxwell's
example of
theorem or
little
something.
boys with
Yeah, right.
trucks and little girls with dolls. That's what they.
That's true.
Michael Knowles Garden donated $200. My sprinkler goes like this.
Okay.
And comes back like this.
Yep. Do you have a sprinkler system in your...
I did, and I gave him a phone, actually.
Okay.
I did, and
yeah.
I just said, to my garden system, I said, call me if anything goes wrong, but he's abusing what I gave him, and now he's subscribing, giving away $200. Where'd you get that $200, garden? That comes from me. That's sprouted from my land.
Last two things, since we were talking about professions for a little bit, an often topic that I hear in feminist discourse is the wage gap. Do you guys believe that there is a wage gap?
I mean, yeah, there is a wage gap. Women generally make less money than men. Whether it's morally okay or not is a different question, but it's undeniably there.
Pixie?
Yeah, there is a wage gap.
Jasmine?
I agree that there technically is, but the reasons for it may be like, I do agree with that argument that men may take on longer hours, etc. Women leave to take care of their kids. Now, would women choose, like the way the system is set up, to take that negative impact of going home with their, because when women leave to take care of their kids, it's really hard to get back into the workforce. Would they choose that? Is that ideal? No, but that's the way our system is set up. So I think there's a lot of variables.
And it's the way all work is set up, right? You're always
That's
going to
true.
prioritize more consistent experience. Yeah, I totally agree with your view. Sure, it exists, but trust me, if any business could save 25% of labor costs by hiring women, only women would be working. It's obviously because women don't work as long hours. They like to spend more time with their kids. They take time off, of course.
And
I
that
mean,
cost
even-
that they take for that is unfortunate, but yeah.
Maybe. I think it's good. I think it's good for them to spend time with their kids. I
Pixie-
think it's better than working in the widget factory.
Pixie, do you think that the
Maybe
the
OnlyFans.
gender wage gap, gender earnings gap, is it due to some of the reasons that Jasmine articulated, or do you think it's due to perhaps sexism?
No, there are obviously cases where this is the case, right? Where there's difference in hours and stuff. But there have been like a decent amount of studies showing that even when things are all equal between resumes or even between like job performance, when conducted blind, the woman will get the proper appraisal, approval, whatever. Well, but if it's a gendered name, or even if it's just like viewed as like gendered or whatever, women will suffer. So there is like a pre-societal connotation on the idea that like, hey, women are less able or apt to do certain X or Y tasks.
I do have, I know I'm kind of moderating this. I did just want to jump in on one thing. This was a couple of years ago. I think Google did a very thorough and in-depth review of how they were, I believe, paying their engineers. Perhaps it was a different segment of their employees. And they actually found that they were underpaying the men and overpaying the women. Would that then be evidence that Google was or is sexist towards men?
It could be.
Okay.
I would have to see the study specifically and what they accounted for. But yeah, it's theoretically possible for a company to also be sexist towards men. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I recently was negotiating my contract with my beloved employers, and I was talking to my wife, who gives me a lot of advice, and I said, should I ask for a little bit more on this thing or that? She was like, I don't know, Mac. I don't know. I would just take what they offer you. It's really nice. I would just... And I said, yeah, but I don't know. They want me to kind of... I'm not... they're going to not respect me if I don't... And she was like, Mac, this is why women make 25% less money, because we just don't want to negotiate. And I totally...
Is your
get it.
wife a South Park
She
character?
is actually, believe it. She's a mixture of Minnie Mouse and Cartman and like Consuelo. No, I don't know. I've been doing that voice for her for like 15 years now.
Like, I was
exactly
like, I gotta
like
Google
her.
his wife after this.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the wage gap, Michael, or?
No,
I think
it's real, but it's fine. Like,
okay.
raising kids is good. Having, who cares, man? Money is great. I like money. I like being able to pay my bills. I like being able to buy nice cigars, like Mayflower Cigars, mayflowercigars.com, 21 years old or older to buy them, exclusions apply. But there's more to life than money. This is only $14 a stick. That's a great price. After a box discount, it's like $9 a stick. What are you going to do with all this money? You're going to just pile it up and buy more stuff? Who cares, man? They used to say that kids were the poor man's wealth, and kids, I'll tell you, I take my job seriously. I love my career. I love being in public life and having whatever political influence I have. It's awesome. It means nothing compared to having children. I finished my first book with words, speechless, when I was in the delivery room with our first child. And my wife's there pushing out this kid, and I'm there finishing the final edits on my book to send in. They were both due on the same day. They both came. And I thought, okay, I've finally done it. I poured my heart and soul into this, 18 months of writing. And I look over at my kid, and I realize that my book doesn't matter at all. And I think it's a good book, and it became a #1 bestseller, and it matters nothing compared to a baby. And so I just think, good grief, woman, you're going to put off having a family, this wonderfully edifying thing, to go make like an extra $50,000 a year, $150,000 a year. Who cares? Like, are you kidding me? What a terrible deal.
There's two things I want to say on that topic. The first one is, hopefully we both can agree that the wage gap is a problem if, let's say, two people are doing the same exact work or whatever. One shouldn't be looked down upon by their sex. Again, we said that there's cases where we understand the wage gap, but hopefully we can agree on that. When all factors are equal, that should not be.
If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a wagon. Sure. If things were different, they'd be different.
Okay. And I guess the second thing is that I think the misconception or what's being downplayed here is that there are strong correlation, if not just straight up causation, of being able to have a kid that's healthier, more educated, has better life prospects, just overall a better life, if you can afford a better life for them. So I think there is something to be said about like, hey, you don't have to be the top 1% owner. Or,
You don't
earner.
need that extra 25% in your income.
But I think there is also something to be said about like, hey, a lot of these women, the reason why they still want to work or they're still interested, because they want to provide the best possible life they can for their family. So I think there is a balance to be struck there. I don't think it's all just like, oh, it's kind of frivolous money.
We have a bad political economy right now that basically forces women to work even when they don't want to. So it's no longer a choice. It's more an obligation for most people. And I agree that's bad, and we should take political action to change that. I'm all for that. I think that would be great. However, you can raise kids on not a lot of money. I didn't come from a ton of money, and I know a lot of my friends didn't come from a ton of money. And, yes, you need to be able to eat. You need a roof over your head. You need some clothes. But you can do that for a lot less than we have now. The problem is the two income trap is that once you start living that dink lifestyle, dual income, no kids, or the dinky lifestyle where it's like no kids yet, you get accustomed to a standard of living that you don't want to give up. But it's worth it. Yeah, make sure you can feed your kids, but make sure you have kids to feed.